Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here. In today's video, we're going to check out some new retro video games being published by Retrobit. Let's get started. So Retrobit has announced 4 different cartridges coming out. 3 of those are for the SNES and 1 of those is for the regular NES. And they are all multi-carts, which means each one of them has different games on it, not just one standalone game. So the first cartridge we're going to look at is for the Super Nintendo, and that is the Brawlers Pack. There are 4 games on here. Retrobit has nicely listed them out as Brawl Brothers, Rival Turf, Tough Enough, and the Peacekeepers. And it's pre-ordering right now. This is in American dollars on the American website, Amazon, for $34.99. Now, all of these games together will probably run you more than $34.99 if you're to find them out in the wild. So it's kind of nice that Retrobit did put these all together in one cartridge for you. And if you don't know what these games are at all, I don't blame you. These games were heavily overshadowed on the Super Nintendo by, for example, the Final Fight series, as well as other beat-em-ups and brawlers out there. So there are 4 games on here, and if you were to buy even one of these games alone, I'm going to bring up Brawl Brothers. I know eBay's a terrible place to check prices, but sometimes there are deals on here. You can see here, for example, here's one for $29.99. So that's just for one Super Nintendo game. Here you're getting all 4, and this is just a play. So this pack is great. I think it's pretty cool for displaying on a shelf. Whether or not you like these games is a different story altogether. Feel free to check them out on YouTube because there are tons of videos up on these games and you can really get a good idea. You can also just try an emulator as well. And Retrobit also has a second game here. This is for the SNES as well, and this is the Data East Classics Collection. So this one's a little more interesting because it contains 5 games. It contains Fighter's History, Fighter's History 2, and those are 2 fighting games. Magical Drop, Magical Drop 2, those are 2 more or less puzzle games, and Super Side Pocket, which is a pool game. So it's a pretty big variety in games for one cartridge. There's 5 games on one cart, fighting, puzzle, and pool. So if you take a look here, I'm not sure pool's an actual genre, but maybe it's a sport. I'm not too sure. Fighter's History is a huge, in my opinion, it's a clone of Street Fighter. Some people actually really liked it. It was not very popular at all, but it is getting up there in price nowadays. But for playing on the SNES, having both of those in one cart is kind of cool. There's also Magical Drop and Magical Drop 2. You can see pictures of them here. You can see games nowadays that closely resemble these. So if you're a puzzle game fan, definitely check these out. I actually don't even know if there was an American release for Magical Drop. I think it was just a Japanese exclusive. So this would be a pretty cool game to have in the collection. Lastly is Super Side Pocket, which is a pool game. So if you're a fan of pool, then this one's for you. It's an interesting collection. They're all by Data East. If you were to buy all of these games separately, it would run you far greater than $34.99. So having them all in one cart is kind of cool. So the next game we're going to take a look at here is on the NES, and this is the Data East All-Star Collection. So I'm a little more excited about this one than the other 2, just for one reason only. If you take a look at the games here, they have Ring King, Bad Dudes, Side Pocket, Burger Time, and Buggy Popper. So I guess it's not one reason only. There are a couple reasons here. First and foremost, Bad Dudes. I remember that one very well. It's a fun little game. Burger Time is a hugely nostalgic game. I remember playing this one on the Atari, actually. So Burger Time on Nintendo. I actually never played it for the Nintendo. I played it on Atari only. So having these games on here is kind of cool. So there's 5 games in total, and these ones are pretty fun. So this is the game I'm also extremely excited about, and this is Joe and Mac Collection for the SNES. Now, this one, there are 3 games on here. they're three interesting games at that. So I actually had never heard of Joe and Mac until one of my friends informed me about it a few years ago and said, hey, why don't you ever check out Joe and Mac? Have you heard of it? And I honestly didn't. Has it aged well? No, not really. But at the same time, this was a pretty fun game to play. There are three games on this. There's Joe and Mac, Congo's Caper, and Joe and Mac 2. So they all pretty much play the same. Joe and Mac 2 has a few RPG elements to it. Congo's Caper is a little different than Joe and Mac, but almost the exact same. So if you take a look, you can check out YouTube for some video reviews or some videos of gameplay, or again, you can always check out an emulator. Joe and Mac here is Joe and Mac 2, and I believe, yeah, there is Congo's Caper. So with Congo's Caper, when you take damage, you can get hit 3 times, I think, and then after that, I believe you turn into a monkey, and then if you get hit when you're a monkey, you're dead. I think that's how it went. I'm not quite sure. I don't quite remember. I could probably watch a YouTube video on it and figure that one out. But at the same time, it also comes with some other stuff too. Some buttons here. You can see the manual as well. So all of these Super Nintendo games run at $35 US, and the regular Nintendo game runs at $30 US. So from a collector standpoint, if you're buying these to collect, it's a cheaper option than buying each of these games individually. If you're just looking to play them, $35 for example, here for 3 games, or $30 here for 5 games. It's a lot cheaper than buying each one individually as well. So that's all I've got for today. Let me know in the comments below what you think of these games. I'm interested to see what you think. Also, hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed. Hit that like button if you liked the video. If you didn't like the video, hit the like button. Anyways, that's all. Take care.